What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Just Talk Hoops podcast. I know I missed the episode last weekend. I apologize. Just was doing some stuff, and since it's the off season, there's nothing new that I'm talking about. Nothing new that I'm updating you guys on or giving my first takes on. Then I felt fine missing, one day. It just whatever. We've still got a few weeks till the season starts, the basketball season, at least the NBA season, because NFL is just starting off today. The Giants are playing the Commanders. They just started, so I'll probably watch that after I'm done recording. Are they going to get stomped? Probably, but you never know. I think there's an upset watch there. Anyway, but yeah, I hope you guys had a great 2 weeks because I missed, last week's. And we've got some fun stuff to talk about today. We're going to do some more hypothetical stuff, some more, is kind of similar to last week in terms of like some creation of teams and players and stuff like that. I'm wearing the Brooklyn Nets Kevin Durant jersey today. It could also be a Joe Johnson jersey, I suppose, but it is Kevin Durant. Shout out Kevin, one of my favorite players. We'll be talking about him today for sure. And we'll also, we'll talk about the Cam Thomas situation a little bit because I haven't really talked about it that much on this pod. And he did just get an extension, sort of. So we'll start with that, but I hope you guys enjoy. If you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, etc. If you're watching on Spotify, send it to your friends, your family, everyone you know, your coworkers, your sworn enemies, anyone. And hit me up, Just Talk Hoops on Instagram if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, criticisms, whatever it is. I'm always happy to just debate basketball. Always happy to just talk about whatever. So hit me up on there for sure. Anyway, the Cam Thomas situation. Let's talk about that first. So obviously he had a rough offseason with the Nets. He has a great, first 4 seasons with the Nets. He averaged 20 plus last year, despite struggling with some hamstring issues, which have been kind of a problem for him in the past few years as he's gotten more playing time. But we saw him, really explode in ability after Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden left, and he drops 43 straight games, and he shows, I think, the world that he is a really, really talented scorer, and that he's someone who you can definitely rely on to maybe not lead an effective offense, but to get a bucket, right? And if he showed that he's one of the best scorers, and the Nets need that, right? The Nets need a player of that caliber because when you're looking at a guy who's only 24 years old and can average 20 plus and can consistently drop 40, why not keep that around, especially when you have all the cap space? But then coming into this offseason, they're not re-signing him. He was a restricted free agent, so no one else could really get him, but they're just sitting there and not re-signing him. And I think this deal that he just got, 1 year, $6 million, no trade clause, is a bad deal for both sides, right? You look from the Cam Thomas perspective, you're worth significantly more than $6 million. You look at the guys around the league. I mean, Claxton on the Nets, he got $25 million a year, which, you look at all these guys around the league, guys with less talent than Cam Thomas are getting paid much, much more. And he should feel a little offended, I think, that he's not getting more than $6 million. So he's losing out on potentially a lot of money, and yeah, it's a bet on himself contract, right? So he definitely, he's going to try and have a great season and then earn himself some more money and hope he can get a bag next free agency, which isn't a bad idea, but there's a chance that he gets injured, right? There's a chance that he struggles significantly with those same hamstring issues that have, caused him to struggle before, or that defense just doesn't look any better than it looked, throughout the first 4 years, or that there's a lot of reasons why a team might not pay him next year. And then he could be looking at just never really making that payday that he should, especially if it's an injury issue. Then it's just really difficult situation for him because now it's not like, oh, well, you're just getting underpaid for 1 year. Now it's like, well, you might never get paid because you could suffer from injuries your whole career, and that would suck for him. And I don't want that for him because I love Cam Thomas as a player. But I do think that it's I don't know. It's just difficult for the Nets to go, okay, well, it's difficult for the Nets to go, okay, well, we're going to give them all this money and get rid of that cap space that we've got. We've got some of the best cap space in the league, right? Because we're not paying a whole ton of guys. You look at a lot of the players on the Nets that are on little contracts. They got Day'Ron Sharp back for a small contract, a contract that I think is really solid for who I think is one of the better backup centers in the league. You look at, and then, they're bringing in 5 rookies, right? Like those guys aren't making much money at all. They're on rookie contracts. So they don't want to get rid of their cap space situation just for a guy who, is he going to lead this team to wins? Probably not. But also, they would love to keep him around. There's no doubt in my mind that the Brooklyn Nets would love to have someone of Cam Thomas's caliber around, right? So when you're looking at this situation, you're going, okay, well, not only did Cam Thomas miss out on $6 million, but the Nets also just missed out on the rest of Cam Thomas's career. It didn't feel like there was a whole lot of writing on the wall that he was going to leave coming into the offseason, right? I know he'd had his problems with Steve Nash and Jacques Vaughn, but with Jordi Fernandez, I think Jordi Fernandez is a significantly better coach. I'm trying to get the lighting situation adjusted. Because I've got a light, I'm trying to figure out what is the best. So I'm like watching myself record this and trying to figure out. If you're on Spotify, you have no idea what I'm talking about, but I think this might be optimal. I just have to squint a bit. I could throw on sunglasses, but that would be weird. Anyway, and Jordi Fernandez, you've got a new coach. There's no reason really that Cam Thomas would be that upset. He's got the keys to an NBA offense, but then he's missing out on this money, and you're messing up your relationship with him. And now I think Cam Thomas is almost certainly gone at the end of next year. I think that next offseason he's gone, which is unfortunate because I love Cam Thomas. He's been one of my favorite players in the past few years, and he's been one of the few things that have given Nets fans a good bit of hope. And I know some Nets fans aren't as big of fans of him because he's a pretty one skill player, right? Like he's pretty much just the scorer. He doesn't provide a whole lot of playmaking or defensive ability, but I also thought last year he showed improvement in that playmaking category, right? And he's only 24. And even if he is just kind of a scorer, like, it is the NBA, we need scoring. And when you're looking at a team that's got, a bunch of pass first rookies on it, having a guy who we know can score is not a bad thing to have. And I just think it's a little bit ridiculous to me that the Brooklyn Nets would just completely ruin their chances with keeping a scorer like that, So it's just an unfortunate situation, and if it could somehow be fixed, that'd be awesome. But I just think it can't really. I think that the Nets completely ruined their relationship with Cam Thomas, and through doing that, they've lost one of the best players they've had in the past few years, and now they're replacing him with Michael Porter Jr., who's been saying ridiculous stuff on his podcast all summer long, which is just like, it's not a good look. It's not a good look, and it's not good for the basketball team, and it's not good for the fans, and it's not good for the chemistry. It's not good for any of this stuff, and it's just like, I don't like it. I don't like this situation at all, and I think both Cam Thomas, it's a lose-lose contract situation, and that's just not the way that this team should be running things. And I honestly think, like, if these rookies don't pan out, Sean Marks has got to go. Because the only thing that's keeping his job right now is the fact that he made 5 first-round picks. And if they end up being great picks, which some of them I have my doubts on them being, then he'll save his job. And I don't think Sean Marks is necessarily terrible at getting talent. I think he's terrible at keeping it. He's not good at keeping around talent. He's good at getting it. You look at the trade, the Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving acquisitions, the James Harden trade, the drafting of Cam Thomas late, the drafting of Nick Claxton late, the drafting of Day'Ron Sharp late, the drafting of, multiple rookies who may be very good. We don't know. Like, he can get talent. That's not the issue. The issue is that he does not know how to keep talent around. He doesn't know how to make the players happy, right? So when you can't keep the talent that you get, you're a bad GM, because part of your job is to get the talent. Sure. The other part of your job is to keep that talent around. You've got to be able to keep it and give the fans something to root for consistently. Not like, well, who's going to work for us this year? It's just unfortunate, and I really don't like that situation. And I just think that the Nets have done a very poor job managing this year. And like I said, the Day'Ron Sharp contract is great, and the Zaire Williams contract, I thought Williams was really good. But like it doesn't feel good. Anyway, moving on. Like I said, we've got some hypotheticals today. So today, what we're going to be doing is so every division, right? So we've got the 6 divisions, 3 in the East, 3 in the West. I took how many did I take? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different categories from each of those divisions, and I'm going to choose a player from each of these divisions. So, hold on. Let me explain this a little better. So say it's the Pacific Division. I've got 10 different attributes of a player, right? Those attributes are frame/body, athleticism, finishing, three-point shooting, scoring, which is different from shooting, handle, playmaking, which are different things, rebounding, defense, and IQ. 10 different things that are very important to any player. And we've got to find players in that division that fit every one of those categories. Here's the trick, though. You've got to have 2 players from each team in that division, right? So there are 5 in each division, 6 different divisions. So I've got to have, for the Pacific, I've got to have 2 from the Suns, 2 from the Warriors, 2 from the Kings, 2 from the Lakers, 2 from the Clippers. So in the divisions where there are some worse teams, I've got to find a guy somewhere on that roster who fits one of these categories. It was just a fun thing for me to do. Let me know what your guys' created players will be. I tried to make it sort of like make sense. You know, like if they're a guard, they don't necessarily have to have all guard abilities, but just things that I'm trying to build around the frame that I make. But, you know, I was just having some fun. So I'll explain them to you. Let me know who you guys think is the best player that I create. So we'll start with the Pacific since we were just talking about that. We'll go through the Western Conference. So starting with the frame, right? I wanted somebody who, you know, this was the first one I made. So I was just kind of doing whatever. I was just trying to have some fun with it. And what's more fun than Bull's frame? Bull, I think a lot of his ability comes through that frame. You know, he's got some struggles on both ends of the court, but the fact that he's 7'2", I want to say, kind of makes up for some of that stuff. And it's just, you know, is he skinny? Yeah, but we're going to make it work. His athleticism, so you got Bull, right? He's 7'2". He doesn't need to be that athletic. He doesn't need to be able to jump that high. But if he can jump like John Collins, who's now on the Clippers, that definitely helps. And then finishing, he's going to finish like LeBron. So he's 7'2", and then he's getting to the rim, and he's jumping as high as John Collins, and he's finishing like LeBron. And you know what? We're going to do it this way. Since there's 3 in the West, 3 in the East, we're going to take these players. We're going to make them into 3v3 teams. We're going to see who will win, just based off of what I think. So we've got this guy. He's obviously great at attacking the rim, right? Because he's as athletic as LeBron, or he's athletic as John Collins, and then he's finishing like LeBron. I know he's 40, which has limited his athleticism a little bit, but he's still great at the rim. And now his athleticism is replaced with John Collins, who's one of the best athletes in the league. So, but now we need to be able to work to the outside a little bit, right? We can't just be going inside solely. This isn't the 90s. No disrespect to the 90s. But we need to be able to shoot a little bit. It's 2025. Why not shoot like Steph Curry? And then score like Devin Booker. So we've got the ability to shoot the ball like the best shooter of all time. The greatest three-point shooter of all time, without any debate. And then Devin Booker, who's great at getting to his spots. He's got great footwork. He's really good mid-range jump shot, which is kind of the things I'm looking at for the scoring, those things. And that's as a 7'2" crazy athlete. But so we've got 2 from the Suns now. We got D-Book and we got Bull. So we're done with the Suns. We can't use another Suns player, and we don't have to. We've got one from the Lakers, one from the Warriors, one from the Clips. We need someone from the Kings. For handle, I ended up going with Dennis Schroeder. Is it the greatest handle in the league? No, it's not. But it's really solid. Dennis Schroeder can create his own shot. And a guy that's probably going to be playing, more of a power forward position doesn't need to be, someone at 7'2" is not going to be able to handle extremely well. And, even guys like Wembanyama that have got a great handle as a big man, they're still kind of like, they're dribbling way up here. It's difficult to have a great handle when you're dribbling so high up, and because they're so tall. Like, what are they going to do? Dribble? No, they're going to dribble at the height that they is more comfortable. So the handle, it doesn't change a ton about this player. Then the playmaking, we're going with Luka. I mean, this guy's already a walking double-double threat in terms of he's going to get double-digit points, let's be for real. He might get double-digit three-pointers made in some of these games. But then he also can pass like Luka Doncic, who's one of the best passers in the league, is great at slowing down and speeding up the tempo as it fits him. He's been going off in Eurobasket, by the way. Last I saw, he's leading the league in points per game, which, shout out to him. There's been a lot of guys doing really well in Eurobasket. Jokic, of course, and Şengün's been really impressive. I haven't really watched it, but I've seen clips and I've seen stats and stuff. But, it's fun to watch, like, the clips. It's a different form of basketball. So anyway, we've got that. But now rebounding, we're going to need to be able to rebound well, right? You don't want a big man who can't rebound. That's never ends well. So I'm going to go with Domantas Sabonis of the Sacramento Kings. He's a great rebounder. That's maybe his greatest strength, is that he can consistently lead the league in rebounds. Like, I think he has, I don't even know, multiple years in the past few years. I'm not sure. Then defense, we're going with one of the most intelligent defenders, Draymond Green. Now, I know IQ is a different category, but just Draymond's ability to use his strength and his size almost, even though he's not, I just think with someone with the defensive intangibles of Draymond Green, right? But then you make him 7'2", and I'm saying 7'2", but I don't know how tall Bol Bol actually is. But when he's already one of the best defenders at 6'6" or whatever he is, or 6'7", then you give him those physical intangibles, and all of a sudden it's like, or the physical tools. I don't know why I said physical intangibles. That doesn't make sense. Physical tools, and he's already a pretty switchable player. He's already someone who does really well defending against guys above his size. I just think that would be, Draymond's one of the greatest defenders of all time. I'll always take one of the greatest defenders of all time. And then IQ, I'm just going Chris Paul. Old man Chris Paul, he knows the game extremely well. That's why he's still in the league, because he's smart. Because he's got great basketball IQ. So that's our big man. And I did kind of think I might do this 3v3 thing. So I did do like a guard, a wing, and a big for each conference. So this is Chris Bowl. For every player, I just combined the name of the frame and the IQ. It's Chris Bowl. The 7'2" Chris Paul. That's terrifying. Now, next we've got the Northwest, right? The Northwest was interesting because there are some teams that are really good in the Northwest, right? You look at OKC, Minnesota, Denver, and then you look at the Blazers and the Jazz, who've been right? So it's difficult to say, like, what exactly is the best way to go with this. Like, where do you put the less talented teams' players? And, I mean, these guys still have NBA-level prospects, which is why we're going to start off with the frame of Scoot Henderson of the Portland Trail Blazers. Obviously, he's a little shorter than Bol Bol, but that's because we're making our guard here. So I decided to make the guard for the Northwest. I just think Scoot, he's a big guard. He's bulky. And I know we don't get the athleticism of him, but we get that size still. So having a big guard, like a wide, frame is very helpful. And just, I don't know. I just feel like the frame for a guard isn't quite as important as the frame for a center or a big man. But now we're going to give him some athleticism, and we're going to give him Aaron Gordon's athleticism because I'd say that's solid, right? The guy who multiple times has been potentially robbed in the dunk contest. He's ridiculously strong, so we get that on top of the size of Scoot as a guard. We get the vertical ability, which we know is really good, and he's got a good first step. Like he's pretty quick, especially for someone of that size. So, although it's not going to be like this is the fastest guard on the floor, he's going to be able to keep up with guards pretty well. He's just not going to be the most agile, et cetera, et cetera. But he's still going to be a great athlete. Just said athleticism. Finishing though. So we've got these physical tools. We need someone who knows how to finish above the rim, like Anthony Edwards. I could have very easily gone and for 3-point shooting after the season he had last year, but I do like him for finishing a little more, just because he's going to be able to explode at the rim, and especially given the athleticism of Aaron Gordon, he's going to be able to just get highlights and furthermore, like you're getting the highlights, but also Ant's got a good layup package. He's good at like it's not just like he's just a dunker. No, he's absolutely really good in every aspect of finishing. I think sometimes people forget that a layup package is part of finishing, but he's good at that as well. 3-point shooting though, we didn't take Ant for it, so I'm going to go Dame Dalla because he's back in Portland, which I don't know how much I've really talked about Dame being back in Portland on this podcast, but a part of me is like awesome, because like it's like it's cool to see him go back because it felt like Dame was always a trailblazer, and it felt weird seeing him in a Bucks jersey. So now we're looking at him and he's going to Portland, back to Portland. It feels like he's going home. Awesome. Unfortunately, it means he's never getting a championship. The Blazers just aren't in a place to compete in that Western Conference, so he's never getting a championship, which is just. It's unfortunate. It's sad to see because he is one of those guys who it feels like he's worked his whole career just to never. But you know what? Championship isn't the only thing that defines a player. I'm tired of ring culture. You can be a great player and not have a ring. It happens a lot. James Harden, Damian Lillard, Russell Westbrook, Chris Paul, Elgin Baylor, sort of. I mean, technically he played like 7 games or whatever in that one season where they won, but he wasn't on the championship winning roster. Charles Barkley, Allen Iverson, Steve Nash. These are all great all-time legends that get knocked because they didn't win a championship. I don't like it. Anyway, moving on from that. Scoring, I wasn't sure what to go here, and then I remembered, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He just averaged 32.7. He led the league in scoring. He's incredible in the mid-range. He's really good at drawing fouls, and I know everyone calls him a flopper, but it is a talent that I want my guard here to have. He's a fun he's a fun player to have. If he's on your team, he's so fun to watch. Or if you're like rooting for him, he's so fun to watch because he's so good at scoring. He's so good at getting to his spots. He's so good at the mid-range jump shot. People love to talk about, well, they just shoot threes nowadays. Where did the mid-range jumper go? And then Shai shoots it, and they're like, why is he... they hate him. They hate him. Shai is a terrible PR team. Anyway, moving on. He's going to be able to score. This guy, so brief recap. We've got a great athlete with a really solid, bulky frame for a guard. Finishes like Anthony Edwards, shoots like Damian Lillard, and scores like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Come on. Then he's the handle. I struggled with the handle here because I had to at some point work in some Jazz players, and I wasn't sure where to go with that. So I went with the handle of Keontae George, which I spelled wrong in my notes. I spelled it keynote. But I went with Keontae because I do feel like, and I'll be honest with you, I did not watch a lot of Jazz basketball last year. Because every time that there's a game on that's not the Utah Jazz, I tend to watch that one instead. And I'm not trying to dog on the Jazz. I'm wearing a Nets jersey as I say this stuff about the Jazz as if they're a terrible team, which they are. But so is my favorite team. So, we suffer together. It's solidarity, right? Like, we stand together, right? But Keontae, from what I did watch, he's got a really solid handle. Is he Kyrie Irving? No, he's not. We'll get to that in the southwest of it. But we'll take it for now, especially with a guy like I don't think he necessarily needs. He doesn't need to dice up the defense when he can just be the player that he'll just shoot. He's Damian Lillard pretty much, Damian Lillard, but with that athleticism from earlier Damian Lillard and with better mid-range shooting. Then playmaking. Here's where I got the best player in the world, Nikola Jokic. It feels interesting to me that a guy who averages how many 28, 29 points per game and is top 5 in the league in scoring, that's not even his best strength, and one of the best rebounders in the league, that's not even his best strength. His best strength, I think, is his playmaking. I think it's the ability to find the open man every single time, and the moment he draws a double, which this guy's going to draw doubles, is going to be able to just find them. He finds them in the corner every single time. He finds them on the wings. He finds them in the dunker spot. He finds them cutting. It's just ridiculous vision from Nikola Jokic. It's ridiculous playmaking ability. I don't know if we've ever seen someone at this level of playmaking. Nikola Jokic is the best playmaker in the world and the best player in the world and has a case for the best scorer in the world and a case for the best rebounder in the world. You don't see that. This is maybe the first time we've seen it. Think back. History of the NBA. Never before has there been a guy who's had a case, a genuine case that you could argue that he's the best in every single one of those categories. Would I necessarily put him as the best scorer in the league? Probably not. Would I put him as the best rebounder in the league? Probably not. But I could make a case, and it would be a convincing case for Nikola Jokic. That's insane. So I had to pick and choose. I was like, well, I can put him anywhere except for defense and athleticism. But I decided to go with the playmaking just because he's such a good, smart playmaker. It's ridiculous. I don't know how people say watching Nikola Jokic is boring. Watching Nikola Jokic is one of the most entertaining things, in the world. Rebounding, I'm going Walker Kessler. Walker's a great rebounder. Now, with a guard, the rebounding matters a little less, and it'll be a little less impactful, especially since all the guys in this, hypothetical 3v3 game are all going to be great rebounders. But we look at guys like Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook still got a lot of rebounds. And I don't think it's ridiculous to say that Scoot Henderson could do a similar thing if he had the rebounding abilities of Walker Kessler. And the athleticism of Aaron Gordon. So he's got that strength. He's got that jumping ability. But this one was a little less important, but still, shout out to Walker Kessler. I think Walker Kessler gets underrated a lot of the time just because he plays for Utah, but he's a really good big man. Defense, now this is one of the ones where it was like, I'm doing it based off the position because I'm not going to take Rudy Gobert for a guard's defense. That doesn't make any sense. But I will take Alex Caruso. So that's who I went with here because we watched it in the playoffs. Alex Caruso had one of the best defensive playoff runs of all time, right? Like he had, and that Thunder team as a defense had a great defensive playoff run. Not only was Alex Caruso getting matched up against, the Shea or not the Shays, the Halliburtons of the world, and the Anthony Edwards of the world, and all the the great guards, but also he was guarding Nikola Jokic, who is not a guard. He at least not physically, right? He's 7 feet. He's 6'11" and 200. 70 something pounds, maybe more. He's a large man, and Alex Caruso was guarding him extremely well as someone who is significantly smaller. So our guy's going to be very switchable, be a great perimeter defender, and Alex Caruso is somehow one of the most impactful players in the league, despite not being an incredible offensive player. And then IQ, Mike Conley. Right, another veteran point guard, another really smart player, similar to Chris Paul, and also just knows how to not get himself in trouble. I think it's still running that Mike Conley's never gotten a technical, which shout out to him. But that's I think part of IQ is temperament. So I think this is a really fun player. This is Scoot Conley, our Western guard. Now we'll go to the Southwest Southwest. The Southwest was interesting because the teams here are really solid, but for some reason I kind of struggled with some of these spots. Frame and body. So we're going with a wing here because we need one for the West. I'm going Herb Jones for the frame just because he's got really long arms. He's got a great frame to be a defensive wing. He's not an incredible offensive player, but we're going to make him an incredible offensive player. And then just a great defensive frame. I know he's skinny, and I know he struggled with injury last year, but before last year, he was pretty consistently healthy, so I'm not too worried about that injury. I am counting injuries in terms of frame and body, just because I think that is part of it, right? Like Joel Embiid, in terms of height and size, great. In terms of knees, they're turned to dust. So when a guy like Herb Jones, who was pretty consistently healthy throughout those first 3 years, and last year he just struggled with injury. He only played like 6 games, like 6 or 7. Anyway, dude, it's the brain rot's getting to me. So, frame of Herb Jones with the athleticism of Amen Thompson, who's maybe the greatest athlete the NBA has ever seen. He's ridiculous. Amen Thompson is God. And I mean, that was a pretty easy pick. I think both the Rockets picks were really easy for me to make. The finishing though, so we got to be able to do something with the ball once we blow past everybody and get to the rim. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna finish like Zion Williamson. Now I know Zion, I would not take his frame because, first of all, it's a large frame. Second of all, is extremely injury prone. I was talking about Joel Embiid, but Zion Williamson is also a great example of not ever being able to stay on the court. But he is really good at finishing at the rim because he's made himself into a really good scorer without much of a jump shot, right? He's got an okay, like, it's okay at most, right? He's mainly a guy who plays at the rim, and especially if you give him the long arms of Herb Jones and the athleticism of Amen Thompson, he's going to be able to do some stuff. 3-point shooting, I've got Clay. I know he's fallen off a little bit since his prime Warriors days, but he's still nice at if you get him a 3-point shot, he's going to hit the 3-point shot. Is pretty much what I'm trying to say here. Scoring, this is the other easy one. I'm going Kevin Durant. I still think Kevin Durant has a great case to be the best scorer in the NBA. Now I know that his turnover issues have become a little more prominent. I know that he doesn't produce at the volume that he used to, but he's still one of the deadliest combinations of on and off ball scoring in the NBA. He's still really good at creating with just a couple dribbles. You can't guard him one-on-one because he's still a 7-footer with one of the better jump shots in the league. He's still got an incredible mid-range shot. He's still really good at never taking a bad shot. He still gets to his shots at one of the highest clips in the NBA. It's Kevin Durant. You know who he is. He's ridiculously good. And I think that Kevin Durant really will be one of the best scorers in the league until he retires. And who knows when that will be. The handle now, come on. You know who. I already told you in the last one. It's Kyrie Irving. So now let's step back. Let's take a look at this player. You got a guy, long arms, Herb Jones, great defensive frame. We haven't even gotten to the defense yet, but great defensive frame. Then he's got the athleticism of Amen Thompson. So he's getting to the rim as if he's Amen Thompson, and he's finishing at the rim like he's Zion Williamson. If he needs to step outside, that's fine. He shoots like Clay. Catch that, shoot that, it's cash. Then how is he going to get all these shots? Or how is he going to get the rest of his points? Oh, probably by scoring like Kevin Durant. By being one of the best in the league at getting to his spots, at shooting good shots, at hitting mid-range jumpers, at shooting contested shots. Then how is he going to get there? By using the handle of Kyrie Irving. This is absurd. Now, playmaking, I couldn't really decide what to go here. I did end up going with De'Aaron Fox of the Spurs. Is he the greatest playmaker of all time? No, we don't need him to be. This guy's not passing the ball. We don't want him to pass the ball. It's straight buckets. It's Kevin Durant. We're sort of building just more athletic Kevin Durant. Is kind of what we're doing here. Just like how with Chris Bowl, our big man, we were kind of just building Kevin Durant. So we're building more athletic Kevin Durant, which sounds terrifying, and I don't think anybody would want to defend more athletic Kevin Durant. We got to rebound a little bit, so we'll take Zach Edey, who I thought had a really solid rebounding year last year. Then we're going to go on defense, just because why not? We're going to go with Victor Wembanyama. Now, I know he's not a wing. I know that the defense isn't exactly a wing, but with the long arms of Herb Jones and the bounce of Amen Thompson, he's going to get blocks. And with the blocking abilities of Wembanyama, I know he has a couple lapses occasionally, but he's still probably the best defender in the league. And that's not something I'm going to pass up on. And then IQ, I really did not know what to go with here because I needed a player from the Grizzlies, the way that this had worked out. So I thought about Ja Morant, not taking Ja Morant's IQ because I want our guy to stay off IG Live. Ty Jerome, I thought about too, but it didn't move me. So I went with one of their other new pickups, which was Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Now, I know he's not like, oh man, he's going to make all the great passes, but we don't need him to make great passes. But Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is a pretty smart defender, right? He's consistently been a solid defender, so he's going to know how to use defensive tools. And he's won 2 championships. He's a veteran. He's got that veteran presence. He's got championships in his DNA. I don't know. Maybe I just forgot someone here, but I thought KCP is honestly not a terrible pick. It's definitely the worst pick of the group, but I think Herbert Caldwell Pope is going to be our best created player today. Just spoiler alert. But now we got to move over to the Eastern Conference, right? So our squad over in the West is Scoot Conley at our 1, our Scoot Henderson built 3-point shoot, Dame 3-point shooting, Shea scoring, Caruso defensive player. I'm just throwing out the highlights. Whoops. Then we've got Chris Bowl, our 7'2" John Collins with the 3-point shooting of Steph and the defense of Draymond Green and playmaking of Luka. Then we've got Herbert Caldwell Pope, our more athletic Kevin Durant with Kyrie Irving's handle and Herb Jones' frame, Amen Thompson's athleticism, etc., Wemby's defense. Okay, how is the Eastern Conference going to possibly combat this? Well, I'll tell you. We're going to start with the frame. This is the Central Division. We're going to start with the frame of Jalen Duren. This is our big man. Jalen Duren's huge. He's a strong guy, and I know the strength sort of comes from the athleticism, but Jalen Duren's still a huge frame. He's absolutely incredible. Athleticism, we're going with Asar Thompson, who also on the Pistons, right? Jalen Duren's teammate, similar to his brother, great athleticism, so we're going to be able to run very fast for a big man. And I know that strength isn't insane from Asar, but if you gave him the frame of Jalen Duren, then that strength would be significantly easier to use. Then we've got, and he's just a crazy vertical athlete as well, so we're going to be able to do some stuff, especially with the rest of the tools we've been given, which is the finishing of Giannis Antetokounmpo. So we're just Jalen Duren moving as fast as Asar Thompson, spamming Euro steps, and then just yamming it on everybody, which at this point, it's kind of just Giannis, right? Like, this is just Giannis that we're describing. But what has Giannis always sort of struggled with? His 3-point shooting. Not anymore. Throw A.J. Green's 3-pointer on there, another Bucks player. Do your homework on A.J. Green if you don't watch him play. Just beautiful 3-point shot. One of the best catch-and-shoot shooters in the league. Extremely efficient. Really good. And honestly, I couldn't think of who else to use, to be completely honest with you. There were a couple guys that I could have used for the Pacers, but they had some other stuff that I wanted to use, and I'll get to that. But first, scoring. Now, this is where it just kind of fell off, because I somehow had to use 2 Bulls players. I didn't know how to do that. So I threw the scoring of Kobe White on there. So the scoring of Kobe White is pretty obviously the worst scoring we've had so far. And this is no disrespect to Kobe White. He's nice, but it's not incredible. But here's my thinking. We're not going to have the ball in our hands a ton, right? This is a big man. So our role is going to be set a pick with Jalen Duren's body, roll to the rim with the speed of Asar Thompson, and then finish as if we're Giannis. We don't need incredible scoring footwork. We don't need an incredible mid-range jumper. We'll either step in and yam it on someone's head, or we'll step out and shoot like AJ Green. What do I need a mid-range jumper for? This is 2025. We don't use the mid-range anymore. The mid-range is dead. We left it in the 90s. Except for Shea and KD and Kawhi and D-Book and all the other guys who use it. DeMar DeRozan, who's still using that. Shout out DeMar. Shout out DeMar DeRozan. He's a dog in 2K. I haven't gotten 2K26 yet, by the way, because I'm trying not to. But I keep seeing like video. I like watch videos on YouTube of it, and it looks really good this year. And I'm debating it. So if someone wants to buy me 2K that's listening, hit me up. Venmo me the money for 2K. My Venmo, and I'm playing. You all just request money from me. None of you are going to give me money. You're just going to request it. The handle, though. I do want to be able to handle the ball a little bit so that we can get into that rim and then dunk on somebody. Really, this guy's just a slasher. But to slash, you need to be able to keep the ball with you. So I'm going Andrew Nemhard solely. And Andrew Nemhard's obviously got a great handle. But what I'm thinking about when I think of the Andrew Nemhard handle is him seeing the MVP on him in the NBA Finals and saying, barbecue chicken. And then just stepping back and hitting the most ridiculous, just going into this little size up, stepping back, hitting a ridiculous three-pointer in a very important part of the game. And he does the same stuff against Chet Holmgren, who's like 7'2". So, I mean, the handle of Nemhard is nothing to play around with. Then we need some playmaking. As a big man, like I said, this guy probably won't have the ball in his hands a ton just because of how he is constructed. But I'm going to go with Halliburton. He's going to find the open man every single time, like Hallie's one of the best in the league at doing that. He punishes defenses extremely well. So if he is driving and then he gets stopped, he can hit a shooter. I definitely wasn't going to take shooting because I hate that jump shot. Like Halliburton's it just bothers me. It's great. I love Tyrese Halliburton, and it goes in, so I can't get mad if it ain't broke. But it looks broke. Rebounding, I've got Jared Allen. I love Jared Allen, one of my favorite players in the league. And I should have worn my Jared Allen jersey today. I've got that too. Next time, maybe I'll wear that. We talked about Kevin Durant a good bit too. I just try and match my jersey to the episode, or try and match my episode to the jersey, either way. But Jared Allen, one of the best offensive rebounders in the league and defensive. He's just consistently put up really solid rebounding numbers, unless it's in the playoffs, but we're not worried about that. And with the frame of Jalen Duren and the athleticism of Asar Thompson, he's going to get to those boards. Defense, it's a big man, so we're going with big man defense. We're going with Evan Mobley because he's the DPOY, the reigning DPOY, which therefore means he's really good at defense. I just think that's a terrifying build. I think those two Cavs guys make this go from like solid to really good. And then IQ, I'm going Josh Giddey. I mean, he's smart. He's a smart player. He's a smart playmaker. I think if I could get rid of the Bulls players and maybe like put in a Cavs player again, or something like that. Like I could go scoring of Spida, Donovan Mitchell, and then go like a rebounding of Vucevic instead. I like Jared Allen, so I wanted to fit Jared Allen in here. But I think that's a pretty good player. That's a Jalen Giddey, which is the least fun name. It's not as good as Herbert Caldwell Pope. But he's going to be matched up with Chris Bowl, our other big man. So we'll see. This guy's got a little size on him, so he might be able to bully Chris a little bit in the paint. But we'll talk about that in a bit. Atlantic. We've got. I'm going to tell you the name on this one just because I think it's funny. I've got Kyle Tatum. Isn't that the whitest name you've ever heard in your life? Kyle Tatum. It feels like he should be a member of High School Musical. It feels like him and what's the guys from? It's like, what is it? What's the name of the guy from High School Musical? The white guy with the comb over. I want to say Zach, but that's not it, because that isn't he's played by Zac Efron. But that doesn't mean that his name. I don't know. I don't remember. Someone tell me the name of the guy from High School Musical in the comments. Frame, though, I'm going with Jason Tatum, so that's where the Tatum comes from. He's just got a really... And it feels like I could use him for something better, but I went with him for frame just because that feels like such a well-filled-out frame. Like, he's 6'8", 6'9", with really some solid size on him, plus just He's been pretty consistently healthy. I know he tore his Achilles in the playoffs last year, which get well soon, right? That's a terrible thing to see, but been pretty consistently healthy, and I just think that's a really solid frame for a wing, and that's what I want here. Athleticism, I'm going VJ Edgecombe, the rook. He is bouncy. Uh, he seriously he had a great summer league, especially his first game in summer league. He looked terrifying, and given him the body of Tatum and then the athletic, yeah, we'll take that. Finishing, I've got my other Celtic. I've got Jalen Brown. Definitely wasn't going to take it for handle, so I'm taking him here. He's just really solid. He's a great athlete, which doesn't help us here at all. But he knows how to use his athletic tools. So VJ Edgecombe, I'm losing my train of thought here. You give him the athleticism of VJ Edgecombe to a body of Jason Tatum, and then you make it so that it's a guy who knows how to use his athleticism in Jalen Brown and is really good at getting to the rim. I think that's really solid already. And then you give him the 3-point shooting of Michael Porter Jr., who we know is a very confident 3-point shooter because that's pretty much all he likes to do. And the scoring, I'm using my other net here. I'm using Cam Thomas. We just talked about how he's a ridiculously good 3-point shooter, or not ridiculously good scorer for his age. He's a good 3-point shooter too, but that doesn't change anything here. He's really good at hitting shots with a hand in his face. He's really good at positioning himself in the mid-range, right? He's really good at shifting his body in the air. He's really good at the mid-range jump shot. And he's really good at using his size to kind of bump people and then shoot, which is what he can do with Jason Tatum's size. And I'm biased because it's Cam Thomas, and I love Cam Thomas. Sue me. So all that stuff makes us into a bucket at the wing. Is it as good as the other wing, the Kevin Durant scoring one? Maybe not. But we're going to get a little playmaking in here now, so he can be a little more well-rounded, right? We've got the handle of Jalen Brunson. So he's going to be able to, Brunson's got a really solid handle and be, like I said, a taller guy, the handle's going to be a little less useful. But still, the handle of Jalen Brunson is very solid. And then the playmaking of Emmanuel Quickly, who is a solid player. I couldn't think of anyone else to use for this, honestly. This guy's not really going to have that much playmaking. I lied. He's not, he'll be okay because it is a guard's playmaking and he'll still be fine, but it's just not great. I was looking around the Atlantic Division. There's not any great playmaking point guard. You look at the Nets. They've got some guys who could become that, right? Like Yegor Dioman and Nolan Traore. They've got talent. They showed in college that they were really good playmakers. For Traore it was in France, but whatever. It didn't. We haven't seen that translate yet, and I'm not taking a swing on that. The Sixers, Tyrese Maxey's a good playmaker, but he's more of a score first point guard. The Celtics, they don't really have a true point guard, right? You got Derek White and then Peyton Pritchard, neither of whom are incredible playmakers, right? Derek White is kind of a more defensive oriented catch and shoot guy, and Peyton Pritchard is a more scoring oriented guy. He's okay, but he's not. It's not Tyrese Halliburton, right? Then the Raptors, Emmanuel Quickly, who we ended up taking, but he doesn't really move me. And the Knicks, Brunson's solid. They've got some solid playmakers, just nobody who's an incredible passer, which I just think is interesting. It's interesting to see kind of that role has been diminished. But then you look Tyrese Halliburton and Luka Doncic, and these guys are Jokic. These guys are great playmakers. I don't know. It's just interesting to see. It was just something I was noticing. Rebounding, I'm using my other Raptor here. I'm getting Jakob Poeltl, who's been very consistently a great rebounder. So we'll get some boards with Tatum's frame. Defense, I'm going OG Anunoby, who, since we've got a wing, we need a wing defender, and OG is one of the best in the world at wing defense. I was between him and McHale, honestly, and I thought about taking McHale's frame just because not injury prone and really long arms, but it just felt like it would just be Herb Jones all over again, and I kind of wanted to change it up. IQ, we've got Kyle Lowry, just another veteran point guard who's kind of just, he's going to be able to take some charges and stuff. I love people who take charges. It's just fun to watch. The Southeast, right? So this is our last division. This is our last player. They're going to be teaming up with Kyle Tatum and Jalen Giddey, which is just the whitest team names ever. Whitest player names ever, I should say. Um, so the Southeast, we're going with the frame of LaMelo because he's we're we're making a point guard, and LaMelo Ball is the 6'7" point guard. Like he's the one, it's where that came from. That stupid joke. I say stupid like I'm not constantly making it. I've made it 3 times in one episode. It's rough. I've kind of, Jesus. But LaMelo, like, is ridiculously tall for point guard. Now, I know that I said I was accounting injury proneness into this, and that really makes me think maybe I shouldn't go LaMelo here. Because, yeah, actually, with those ankles that he's got, I probably should not go LaMelo Ball here. Maybe we'll go. You know what? Should we just have some fun and say Trey Mann just because it would be kind of fun to have, like, the AI look? No, right? That's a terrible idea. No, because he's going to get bullied by our other guard. Who was our Scoot? Yeah, no. Trey Mann is getting bullied by that. Okay. I'm going to go with Brandon Miller's frame because I do need a Hornet before I, like, completely just remake this player. I don't want to go LaMelo because I just don't want those ankles. So we're going to go with Brandon Miller, who is a solid big guard, right? He's not point guard really, size material, but we've seen big point guards a lot recently, and we're going to give him the tools to be a point guard. Athleticism, we're giving him A.J. Johnson of the Wizards. A.J. Johnson's a sneakily really good athlete. This division is just tough because we've got the Hornets and the Wizards. What am I supposed to do with that? But we'll do something. Finishing, we've got Miles Bridges of the Charlotte Hornets. We're not going to talk about it. We're not going to give him any praise because he's a terrible person. But I won't lie, he can get up there, and he can finish very well at the rim. But don't care, terrible person. 3-point shooting, I'm going Desmond Bane, the newest member of the Orlando Magic. That's why they brought him in, because he's a great shooter. And I don't know if his 3-point jump shot is going to get messed up by the fact that he doesn't have little dinosaur arms anymore. But, we're assuming it's going to translate. Scoring, we're going Tyler Hero. Now, it's kind of crazy to think that Tyler Hero might be the best scorer in this division. I know guys like Paolo and Franz have cases, but when you look at a guy like Paolo and he's constantly shooting shots instead of getting at the damn rim, even though he's 6'10", like 250. And Tyler Hero, he's good at making contested shots. He's good at scoring. That's what he does, right? Like, he's a pretty one-dimensional player, and it's scoring is that dimension. The handle, though, we're going Trey Johnson, a rookie, also from the Wizards. The Wizards, it was tough, so I was looking for anything. And Trey Johnson, a lot of his draft stock comes from the fact that he's got a great handle. He can get to his spots really well, and if he can then shoot like Desmond Bane, I'm just saying, a guy with Brandon Miller's size who's got a handle like Trey Johnson is nothing to play with. Here's where the strength of this player comes in. Playmaking, I've got Trae Young. So we're going to be able to feast, especially with our guy Jalen Giddey, who is going to be running. We're going to run the pick and roll between the two, and then we're going to be throwing lobs with the accuracy of Trae Young, who's one of the best at doing that in the league, and then finishing them with the finishing of Giannis and the athleticism of Asar Thompson. Damn. That's where the real strength of this guy comes in. He's a pass-first player. This guy, we're looking to pass. He's obviously a solid scorer, but we're looking to pass with this guy. Rebounding, I've got Bam Adebayo, who's a solid rebounder. We're not going to have to rebound a ton as a guard, and it feels weird to not have Bam in a bigger role, but this is kind of the only spot I could think of to fit him. Defense, we've got Dyson Daniels because we've got to have some great perimeter defense, and Dyson Daniels showed one of the best abilities to make defensive plays. He's one of the best defensive playmaking guards in the league, and we're going to get some steals. We're going to be locking up. And then IQ, we're going Tyus Jones, just because he's one of the least, injury-prone players, or not injury-prone, turnover-prone players in the league. He's always had a great assist to turnover ratio, which means he's just a smart passer. So we want to make smart passes with the ability of Trae Young. Beautiful, beautiful. So our Eastern Conference team, we've got Jalen Giddey at our big man, Kyle Tatum, and Tyus Ball. That is the names are less fun than Chris Bowl, Scott Conley, and Herbert Caldwell Pope. I do think that the Western Conference team would win this one. I think that honestly, Jalen Giddey, the big man for the East, could really feast against the skinnier guy in Chris Bowl, but with the length of Bol and the intelligence of Chris Paul and the defense of Draymond Green, I just think the scrappiness of that defense could kind of save him, even though he's got an athletic disadvantage. I think though Scoot Conley and Herbert Caldwell Pope are both winning their matchups. These are such funny names. Are both winning their matchups. I just don't think like Kyle Tatum. He's going to be great, but I don't know if he's going to be able to do much against Herb. I So I would give this to the West. If it was a 7-game series, I'll give it to him in 6. I think that's fair. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know if you guys are interested in this type of video. It was just something that I thought of the other night, and I was like, hey, that could be kind of fun to make an episode on. It was a lot of me kind of doing the same thing over and over, so if you guys got bored, I kind of understand that, but I do hope you guys enjoyed. It took us to about an hour, so I'm not going to talk about anything else. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great week. I'll try and be back next week. Like I said, off season makes it kind of weird, but I hope you guys have a great week. I will see you guys next time.